Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Today, my biblical perspective is going to clash with the prevailing worldview of the feminazis who have come after an NFL kicker who dared to give a commencement speech and simply echo what the Bible teaches regarding biblical womanhood. I thought this story was so fascinating because it demonstrates to me that the world is increasingly hostile to the Christian faith, and they are not interested in actually being the church, being a believer or a follower of Christ, but rather they love this present world, and their minds and their hearts have been corrupted by the culture, so much so that at a Catholic university, when the commencement speech is given and someone actually applauds or encourages women to do one simple thing, everybody goes mad. What is that one simple thing? Well, Harrison Butker, a Kansas City Chief kicker, basically was encouraging and admonishing women to simply not to prioritize your career over your family. I know, it is a novel thought. Who would have thought, right, that saying something as biblical as, hey, all of your achievements in this world, yes, they are important, but nothing is going to be more important than loving your husband and serving your family. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what has caused such a commotion, and then I'm going to come back and give my commentary. So let's go ahead and get into it.
A change.org petition is circulating now online calling for the resignation of Kansas City Chiefs starting kicker. Harrison Butker has been sparking controversy online and really all over water coolers since a commencement speech he gave at Benedictine College.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
So there you have, that's a quick little soundbite about what Harrison Butker had to say. And hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. When I listened to that, it actually warmed my heart because something that Harrison said that is so true is that there are lies that have been fed to modern women, and they've believed those lies to their peril. So women are upset because Harrison dared to say that, listen, at the end of the day, your career and climbing the corporate ladder, and I'm paraphrasing, all of that stuff is nice. But looking forward to being a wife and a mom, there is nothing wrong with that. And if that is on your mind and if that is in your purview, go for it. But now we actually have a petition going forward to get people to sign it to call for him to be kicked off the football team for daring to share his worldview. Now, to my understanding, Harrison is a Catholic. So as a Catholic, he holds, if he's a good Catholic, he holds to traditional family values. And there is nothing wrong with that. In fact, the reason why we have so many orangutans out here for the uninitiated. And orangutan is a female imbecile who cannot manage her misery. And so because she can't manage her misery, she just shows out. And you see it in her mindset and in her behavior. And what we found is that after the news of this speech got out, women took to the internet to do exactly what I expected them to do. Act like the orangutans that they are. Yes, I call modern women orangutans because they don't actually want to fulfill their God-given roles, which is if you are a woman and the Lord has placed a desire in you to be a wife and a mom, they don't want to embrace that. Instead, in order to fulfill some longing on the inside of them, they chase after everything else. And then they cannot figure out why they're unfulfilled, why they're not happy, why they're so miserable, why they have to work so much and they're always complaining and they never have any joy. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Hear me clearly. When I heard the words of Harrison Butker, I did not hear him say that women cannot work and you must be barefoot and pregnant. What the feminazis here, when they heard what he said, they filtered that through their illogical, unreasonable mindset, and they took it to a conclusion and tried to make an argument that he was not actually making. And so, since all of the feminists want to come after him, how about I do you one better? Why don't y'all come after me, right? I dare you to try to roll up on a Black woman who is standing here on the YouTube and who is telling you that my life is so much more fulfilled and it has so much more meaning because I'm not living my life for myself. I actually am a wife. Yes, I'm somebody's wife of 16 years, if I might add, and I am somebody's mama. And I had the life before where I had the career and I had the car and I had the clothes and I was chasing the bag, honey. Yes, I lived that life. And you know what that life brought me? That life brought me a lot of stress. That life brought me so much uncertainty, and I was incredibly unfulfilled and never satisfied. And one day I hit rock bottom mentally because I was trying to have it all. I had already had 2 children. I'm working in corporate America, trying to just do my best working for the man. And one day a phone call came through. And in this phone call, this client that I had been working with decided that they had woke up on the wrong side of the bed and they wanted to let me have it. And I was 5 months pregnant with not 1, but 2 babies. So at this point, I'm like, I ain't got time for the okie doke. Okay. If you really want to push my buttons this morning, oh, you have called on the right morning. And I lost it. In that moment, I realized that what is this that I'm chasing? What am I chasing? What is it in the world that the world has to offer me that is so good that it wants to rip me away from my children and that all I'm doing is working to buy things that I do not need? Well, it was in that moment that I realized that my happiness and my fulfillment and my joy did not come from working for this job, climbing up a corporate ladder. I said, you know what? I don't care what we have to do, how many cars we got to get rid of, how we have to downsize our life. I want to go home to my babies. What I am finding today is that modern women, they don't actually want to be wives and they don't actually want to be mothers. And then we're confused at the state of our country, right? Healthy societies are formed when we have healthy communities. And healthy communities are made up of healthy families. Without families, you guys, we cease to exist. So what I want to do is I actually want to appeal to the scriptures to demonstrate that what Harrison is saying is not novel. It is simply, he is echoing the biblical worldview that you would think would not be controversial at a Catholic college. But what it demonstrates is that we are so far removed from actually honoring the scriptures and obeying the scriptures as the very words of life to make us wise. We're so far removed from that than when we actually hear someone just saying, hey, I just want to fulfill, a biblically sound a gender role. I don't want to compete with a man. I don't want to be a man, nor do I think I'm a man. That the opposite of that is now so controversial that it sparks feelings of hate and outrage from people. So really quickly, I want to take a look at Titus 2 verses 3 through, let's talk about 3 through 7, maybe a little more. It says, older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, not slaves to too much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. This is not controversial, y'all. This is just a part of gender roles as outlined and defined by the Bible. The scriptures teach that Christ is the head of the church and man is the head of the woman, and there is just a biblical order to things. And when humans made in the image of God actually align themselves with the biblical order, how God ordained the family to run, the world is just in a more, we're in a homeostasis, if you will. There's just a little bit more balance. Children are well-rounded and better adjusted. Even secular scholars will affirm that children raised in a loving home with both their mom and their dad in the confines of marriage produce better outcomes. Children are more secure. But the world would have you to co-sign to this alternate worldview that says being a mom and being someone's wife is not a fulfilling role for you to have, and that you must chase something else out there because something out there is what's going to give you fulfillment. But I am here to tell you that do not buy into the lie. Liberalism, their whole goal is to seek and to destroy all that is good, all that is lovely, all that would honor God and his word. And when Harrison says what he is saying, he is not saying that women need to be barefoot and pregnant. Like, how did you walk away with that from what he said? It's because you cannot engage with the argument, and you yourself are so miserable that what you have to do is you have to look down on women like me who are like, listen, there's no place I'd rather be than to be home with my man and my babies. You can have all this out there, that rat race out there, you can have it. I don't want it. But because you don't have any peace, inner peace, or any joy that comes from only what God can provide, you have to say hateful and mean things to disparage not only God and his word, but someone that's just seeking and endeavoring to live their lives in a godly way. I never thought that I'd see the day where it would be considered hate speech to actually just affirm what the Bible teaches. But that's what happens when Christianity can be morphed and manipulated and massaged to fit the culture, as opposed to people recognizing that being a Christian, we swim in the opposite direction of the culture. If the culture is going this way, we're like, yeah, I'm going to go this way. If culture's up here, we're like, yeah, I'm going to be down here. Why? Because the world and all of its treasures, it is fleeting, and we are decaying as we speak. But only the word of the Lord will last forever. So I prefer to stick with what the scriptures teach. Ladies, don't buy into the lie. What Harrison was attempting to teach these graduates is that You can have the job and the career and make all that money. And at the end of the day, what are you going to have to show for it other than to be stressed, to not leave a godly legacy to pass on for the next generation? And if you delay marriage and motherhood in lieu of career, eventually, it may not be now, it may not be next year, but eventually you will come to bemoan your choices, and then you'll really be miserable, and you'll be out here looking like an Ebony K. Williams, where you just wish that you had made different decisions, but since you didn't, you found yourself at the cryo bank trying to buy yourself some sperm. Don't be like a Ebony, and don't be like these orangutan miserable women out here, these modern feministic women who are unmarriageable. I applaud what Harrison said, because if more women listened to what he said, they wouldn't be out here on the open dating marketplace, unmarriageable and unfit for any good work. Most of them are not useful at all. They're rebellious. You can't tell them nothing. They refuse to submit to any sort of wise counsel or authority. And this is why men are like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not trying to fight in my own home with somebody who's supposed to be my helpmeet. If we raised more women to cherish and to want to be mothers and wives, our communities wouldn't be in such a disarray. Because mothers impart culture to the children. Mothers are the ones that restrain, not saying that fathers don't do it, but mothers are the ones who impart culture into the children. And if culture is wayward, it has a lot to do with the fact that mothers are not being mothers. I think the part that was so crazy for me is that the idea of managing your household, like, y'all, that's a Christian virtue. Like, what is wrong with that? But the fact that you have women out here making TikTok videos because the idea of encouraging women to prioritize being a wife and a mom over chasing everything else out there, the fact that that is causing so much consternation. It's amazing to me. And now I see why so many women are on antidepressants and why they are so miserable. And when you tell them, like, for example, I was at the grocery store the other day, and there was this woman just being incredibly unreasonable over something that didn't even make sense. Like, she was actually mad because she bought some flowers for Mother's Day. She picked them out herself. She didn't buy them under compulsion or under duress. And then she tried to come back later in the day, and she tried to return the flowers and said the reason why she wanted to bring them back is because she went to another Kroger and saw some flowers and they looked better than the ones she bought from this Kroger, so she wanted her money back. And the manager or the customer service person is trying to explain to her, well, ma'am, flowers, that's not a purchase that we can accept as a return. And, we're sorry that you found flowers that look better, but you picked out these flowers. So, like, these are now your flowers. Do you know this woman showed out, demanded to see where in writing did it demonstrate in writing that you can't return flowers? And because she refused to take no for an answer, do you know she called the police? She sure did. She called the police. My tax dollars at work, when they need to be out there chasing and hunting down criminals. She waited 30 minutes for the police department to come to the Kroger to basically reiterate and tell her the same thing. And because she didn't like what the police told her, she decided that she was going to show out and get loud in the grocery store over some flowers that she picked out, that no one persuaded, made her, forced her, or coerced her to buy. That is the result of a miserable woman who is bemoaning life in general and just doesn't know how to manage her misery. And so she just shows out and acts a fool. That is happening more and more. It is now becoming culturally acceptable and socially acceptable for women to just act a complete fool and be unreasonable and to act unstable and to not even listen to how irrational they sound. Women actually making TikTok videos and calling what Harrison was saying misogynistic, that is crazy to me. Because if we're all just honest, if you are a woman and you actually have a desire to be married, and your husband is like, listen, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hustle hard and I'm going to work to provide for our family. All I need you to do is be here and to take care of my babies and keep this home in order. That's all I need you to do. Be my helpmeet. Fill in the gaps in my life. Support me. Be by my side through thick and thin. Help me raise these children and take care of this home. I don't understand why that is so misogynistic. How do you hate women? How can misogyny is the hatred of women? How can you say for a man to possess this idea that one of your greatest callings in life is to be a wife and a mom and to do that well as unto the Lord? How is that demonstrating a hatred of women? I think it actually demonstrates hatred of women to throw them into the workforce, force them to work 40 plus hours per week, to have to sit and fight in traffic, and then to have to come home and try to make some sort of meal to feed their families. They're overworked. They're overtired. They've been fighting traffic. They've been fighting their boss. They've been fighting their coworkers all day. I now see why you don't have any joy. I'd be miserable too. In fact, that used to be me. I was very miserable. I tried to just squeeze and suck a little bit of joy out of life, but I was not happy. I did not feel as if I was living my best life until my husband was like, okay, we're going to downsize our life so that we can bring you home because this is too much. The crying spells, constantly being on edge at work, to force a woman to have to go back to work 6 weeks after popping out a baby. Like that was me. Actually, I took 9 weeks, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go back to work after 9 weeks of trying to learn how to be a mom and to care for a human. That was hardly enough time for me to acclimate myself to motherhood. But I didn't have a choice. So now I got a pump. And now I have to reconfigure my entire life. And now I'm away from my child for all of these hours per day. And thank goodness I was blessed to where my mom at the time was like, leave the baby with me. I will take care of the baby. I will watch the baby while you're at work. But then now I got to get up extra early in the morning, drop the baby off at her house, go to work, try to focus on work when my body is telling me your baby's hungry, it's time to feed it, but the baby's not here. So now I got to hook myself up to a machine like I'm some cow in a closet and try to extract nourishment for my child that is over 30 miles away. And I did that 3 times a day, every single day, crying through it, trying to manage postpartum stress. It was grueling. So I'm sorry. I will take what Harrison is advocating and supporting any day over my former life when some rando employer decides when they want to give me a atta girl patty cake on the back and throw me a penny or two for supporting their organization and allowing them to hit their numbers. No, I said, I'm going to come home and I want to be with my children. And it was the best decision that I ever made. So shout out and kudos to you, Harrison. You do have people out here who are not listening to these crazy and deranged feminazi orangutans out on the internet who are calling for you to be fired. How crazy do you sound? Do we live in a world that we're not even allowed to express our Christian views? This is not foreign to the Christian worldview. The problem is We don't have biblical demonstrations of what it actually means to be a Christian and to live out your faith in the world. So when Harrison says the things that he says, it's almost like, how is that Christian? All this man did was basically support what Titus 2 teaches. That's it. It's not novel. Women are supposed to be in submission to their husbands and to love their children and to be keepers at home. What is so wrong about that? What type of society do you think we would live in if, I don't know, it'd be the society that we used to live in, where you went to school and your mama was home with your afternoon snack, your snack, she did your laundry, she helped you with your homework, she had dinner on the table and on time, and y'all ate together as a family. I'm sorry, my idea of feed my kids Chick-fil-A in a car on the way home from picking them up from daycare, where some rando had to watch them all day, and I don't know what they're learning, and I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what they're exposed to all day. That's not living for me. So do not bemoan the choices of some of us that counted the cost and decide that I want to align myself with biblical values and I want to raise my children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And I'm going to submit to my husband and I'm going to love on these babies and I'm going to raise them and I'm going to shoot these arrows into the next generation because that's what God would be pleasing to God. I'm not apologizing for it. And I am hoping and praying that Harrison doesn't apologize either. Don't you bow the knee, Harrison. You stand firm on your convictions. If you might be a Catholic, I'm a Protestant, but on this we can agree. Do not bow down to this woke, angry mob that wants you to lay aside your worldview to make them comfortable. Let them stew over there in their misery where they actually hate themselves and they hate men. Do you know these women actually hate men? It's called, and for the ones that look like me, I call it melanated misandry. They actually despise male headship because they actually hate men. Well, this society will not be able to sustain itself and flourish if we continue down this road of these godless, hateful, feminazi orangutans. That's right, I said it. Come find me. I wish you would. I am hearing stories that they're actually doxing him and want people to go and harass him for his views, demanding that he retract his statements. The NFL has actually been like, hey, we just want y'all to know that his views are his views expressed as a private citizen functioning in his own capacity, not as a representative for the NFL. Manhood is under attack right now. And these darn woke corporations don't have not a principle to stand on. So it takes men of courage like that to say what needs to be said and to stand on their own convictions. Y'all stand on y'all convictions. Well, he's standing on his. How about that? I think it's crazy that people are upset that at a Catholic college, a football player is actually advocating for the biblical worldview. How far have we fallen? We're so far removed from what it even means to be a follower of Christ. And we're so far removed from Scripture being the final authority that there are even Christians out here who don't even realize that what he was advocating for is not new. It's just called following the Bible. So let me know what you think. Let me know. Leave me a comment down in the description box below. Until next time, grace and peace.